This is our greenhouse that we're building. Now, unfortunately, we started it in the fall, which I used to wonder why we never start projects in the fall. Well, if you see the snow on the roof, that's why we never start projects in the fall. Every time I get bundled up, I remember why. Fortunately, with our weather, we still have plenty of blue sky even when it's really, really cold outside, which is great. Now, this video is about completing the roof for our greenhouse, which fortunately we were able to do before the snow set in. So go ahead and take a look. Now, finally, it's time to put the roof on. We've been working at this all day, and this has kind of been our goal, to be able to get the roof on, make it so that, you know, if it rained, we could have our tools at least under a roof. So we're just super glad to get it done. It's time to put our roof on. Now, I do want to point out that this is not necessarily OSHA approved. My husband does have a climbing harness. He also has placed a block on the top of the roof so that so he has something to catch him if he falls, and the block so that he doesn't fall. We'll have to see, but you go ahead, and if you have any questions about how to do roofing properly, look up some YouTube videos on it by some experts, but this works pretty well for us. It's a steep angle. We're getting ready to do the greenhouse portion of the roof here, and so we're putting up the fascia board on the end of our 2x4s first. This just keeps the water off the end of the 2x4s and makes it so they age a little bit better, as well as giving it kind of more of a finished look. It's helpful to use a nail gun just to hold it. We've got our finishing nailer from when I was doing trim earlier. We're just holding it up with that, and then we'll go back and actually connect it with something stronger later. Additionally, we are going to put up the little corrugated boards just so that airflow doesn't go up underneath the corrugated plastic and enter our greenhouse, cooling it down. And then we will put the corrugated plastic up. We still need to make our plastic ridge caps, but we'll be doing that a little bit later. We're currently making the ridge caps for the top of our greenhouse portion of the roof. For this, we're using a corrugated plastic. We went back and forth. There are corrugated plastic ridge caps that you can buy, but they're kind of expensive, and honestly, our store doesn't carry them, so we would have to order them in. So for us, we decided to go ahead and just buy an extra sheet or two of the corrugated plastic and create them ourselves. Now, we cut them to 13 inches long, but if we could do it over again, we would do it at 18 inches long, just so that it has a little more distance to it to allow for the turn at the top. Now, what we did is we created this little stop block with a ledge over the top of it so that it would hold the corrugated plastic in the correct spot, so that we are putting our crease or our turn per se halfway through it. The other thing that we did is we used the little corrugated wood pieces that you put under the plastic to make sure that we maintained the grooves in our plastic. And then it's a good idea to have some kind of weight or something, a board. In our case, we have just a little metal clamp that we're putting on the top just to kind of hold the top down. And we felt like it was beneficial to have two people doing it. So my husband just took a metal rod and provided a little bit of pressure on the bottom portion, as I used our heat gun right where we want the curve to form. And it takes several passes in order to get it to fold the way that you want it to, but eventually it does. It's pretty amazing. Now, our roof has 40-degree angle on each side, so we need like a 80-degree angle as far as our entire ridge piece to fit on top of it. So this is how we're doing it. You might have to adjust it just a little bit based on whatever your roof is going to be, but it really does save you a little bit of money, and in our case, saved us time, which is super important because it's really quickly getting to the point where we're gonna see some snow. It's gonna be an early winter this year. Now that we have our ridge caps completed, it's time to move on and put our plastic corrugated panels up. Now what we're gonna do is we're going down one side first, and as we install the one panel, we'll go ahead and we'll put the ridge cap over it and just kind of have it loose on the other side. And then we'll do a panel and a ridge cap. And so then when we're coming down the last side, we'll just have to, you know, put it up underneath the ridge cap and put it on, and it should work pretty well. Remember when you put this on to make sure that it's going over your trim boards, because you don't want the trim boards to get a lot of water or it'll degrade them pretty quickly. It's also a really good idea, if you can, to do your painting before you put those panels on. For us, the last plastic panel is the hardest, just because that one needs to be cut down. We made sure that our trusses went every 2 feet so that it would work perfectly for attaching those. But that very last one was only like 13 inches. So we have to cut that one down. So it's a little bit more time, but not that bad. The other difficulty with this last layer is that we have to wiggle it underneath the asphalt. There's a possibility that it would have actually been easier if we did the plastic first and then we did the black roofing, because right now we're having to loosen things up so that we can get it under the edge. So, you know, beyond having to cut it, that part makes it a little harder too. We're super excited about getting the roof done. The one thing that we need to do is finish trimming the shingles on the side of the shed portion. And so that's why we left the little block up on the top, so that we have something to stand on when we go ahead and do that. But we need to wait for the snow to stop before we can get up there safely.